Welcome everybody back to another episode of Muse. This is season 2, and we have again, actually the first guest we ever had on the original season is JP. He is a member of Arrays, which is a solo studio project, and also he is a leader, member, founder, one of the founders of Swerve City. How are you doing?
Hey bro, thanks for having me, man. I'm doing good.
Sweet as. It's good to chat again because we just been chatting a little bit beforehand. It's good to catch up. And it's good to have you back on. I've been listening to I've listened to the debut album quite a lot. I used to text you a lot and be like, yo, I'm doing this and that, and I'm like still loving the songs. How's that initial release worked out?
Oh, it's been in some ways it was better than I expected. I managed to get a track off of that into the top 40 charts for a few weeks, and that was just like kind of like made my year when that came out. I was like, oh my god,
Yo,
how's this even happening? And like when you might be able to relate to this, but when you record something, I think the part that sings loudest sometimes is all the things that you wish you could change.
yeah.
Not a comment on your recordings, which I think are actually they great mixes and great songs, but just for me personally, I almost can't ever hear anything other than the things that I think I could do better. So in terms of how's that for fun? So in terms of reflecting on it, I think there was some good songs in there, and I'm excited that I've learned some things since then and can make better music now.
Oh, dude, I reckon they're great songs, and it's like we were saying in a previous interview about how like the game has changed so much. Where before you'd have to kind of get signed to a label, through A&R to get your music kind of really public and out there, right? Because streaming wasn't a thing. Now the game has completely changed, and anyone can record music and upload it. So anyone can do it. So there's just so much more music. That doesn't mean that that your music or anyone's music that isn't signed is any less good or whatever. It feels like in some cases there's so much good music out there that it needs to be heard just through word of mouth, And so yours is one of that album. Like I'm not, trying to suck up or anything. I've listened to it a lot and I've told people about it. And you came and worked with our kids at school, and you're gonna probably come back and work with our kids again. And they knew your music and they liked your music. Do you know? So
that's cool.
Credit where credit's due, man. You gotta just go, yep. But I understand at the same time, yeah, when we're listening to it, like everyone else, we're like, damn it, I should have fixed that, or that's not as good as it could have been, right?
I think it's just the producer's curse. Well, it's certainly the solo producer's curse. So I mean, I've got this other record coming out, and it's the same problem.
Really?
So like I'm actually for the next one, not the one that's about to be released. The next one, which I've got a mix template that I've done one song on, and I'm happy, and I'm really happy with it. And so I'm just sort of like, I'm going to choose to be happy with this next one. I'm not going to choose to hear faults. I'm going to choose to be happy with it. Yeah.
So hold on a second. So mix template. Are you saying that like?
So let me explain. Let me explain that. So I've kind of now this. I am absolutely a workaholic, and I don't ever stop thinking about making music. And I acknowledge that completely. This is not everyone's world, and most sane people will just get a producer and and do the parts they enjoy and let other people take care of everything. And I've got a problem. In saying that, as soon as I finished this record, I sat down and brainstormed for an afternoon on how I was going to improve the things I wanted to improve, and then fairly quickly had a song idea and recorded that. But rather than kind of getting it to like 80% and leaving the final touches for the final mix at the end of the record, I decided I was get it to 100% that I'm super happy with, really well balanced, great tones, and so I did that, and then now that means that when I go to track, as long as I track the next few songs, or have many songs on the next album and dry, I'll be able to drop them into their various parts, and it's gonna sit in that balance with obviously probably like bit of play, because it's never works out 100% like you plan, but I'm going to be pretty close to the tones that I want out of the starting gate. So yeah.
That's like for me, and many people probably with home studios, it's hard sometimes to have the album sound the same, have that sonic quality. Like if I listen to like Paramore's first album, I think it's Riot if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
That sound is like every song has that sound, even though it's like different songs. They don't sound the same, but they've got that same timbre and quality about it.
Right.
Is that kind of what you're aiming for?
I mean, definitely, but also, I really just want to be happy with it when it's finished. Like, sure. I've done enough records with myself to know that it's really super easy for me to just go, nah, I don't like it, even if everyone else does, even if someone like you is complimenting me about it. But that's the goal for this one, and but maybe I can get into a studio and record for like 3 weeks, or for like a month and a half, like bands like Paramore do after that. That'd be nice.
Right. That'd be nice. We'd like to do that too.
Yeah.
So the new song I've heard, you sent me that today, Obsidian Oceans, which I really, really liked, and I spoke to you beforehand. You're most welcome, Mr. JP. Was about, there's a couple of tasty chords in there, and I liked how the song builds up. And
only a couple.
Only a couple, and then it goes. The melody's great, and then the ending is just like this big cacophony of just angst and power and stuff like that. What is the song about, man? Because at the moment, like if I think about your original debut, Light Years, and then I think about where this one's going. What is the album called? Obsidian Oceans? No, what is it called?
Album's called Patience Way.
That's right.
So Obsidian Oceans was actually a track I wrote for Armed in Advance about 5 years ago.
Wow.
And it's just about when you're just in the shadow side of relationships, when things are just, they're just they're worse than bad, and you just start thinking about, when where it becomes more painful to stay than go, basically.
Yeah, bro.
So, and it's kind of like this. You said to talk about the lyrics. Okay, here it is. So, relationships. So I made it about boats.
I noticed. Thanks to the dad joke, bro. And it was like they collide and then sync together, right?
Yeah,
there's a couple of references in there.
The idea is they just kind of disappear into this black void that is our existence. So
the Obsidian Ocean.
The Obsidian Ocean. That is obviously I was feeling really good about life when that was happening.
Right.
Yeah.
What's it like? What's it like bringing a song that you wrote 5 years ago back and redoing it? What's the relationship with it?
First of all, it's problematic from a lyrical perspective when I'm in like a super good relationship. So I had to have a really good chat with my partner.
Is this about me? Yeah. Are you talking about me?
You just need to be super clear that that's not the case, and then because everyone has relationships, so you can always bring a relationship song, no matter what the context of your relationship. And if there's another listener, then hopefully there'll be more than one listener.
At least it's not like Lips of an Angel by Hinder style. It's like we were talking about that today with some kids, and we're like, imagine writing that and singing it to your missus and being like, who is this about?
Yeah, that's about my mate Terry. It's not me. Yeah, we're good. Let's go for brunch. So no, that was good. But yeah, it was cool because actually I couldn't actually sing the song properly in Advance for a couple of reasons. One was my vocal technique. Just I had some iterations to do on it. Whatever you think about my vocals now, back then they were worse. So I couldn't hit the notes, and I would just kind of force like distortion on my voice to try and get there, and it was just like the demo was just actually painful to listen to in retrospect. But I always knew that there was like a real good spirit, like there was something real true in it. So it was actually a bit of a joy to pull together again, because I was kind of like I kind of deconstructed it and rebuilt it using everything I've learned in the last 5 years. Sang over it again with a renewed vocal chords and renewed singing technique, and I was able to produce it closer to how I want it to. And so, even though it was a sad subject matter, it was a happy ending with the song.
Sure. And like your drums sound different. They're different sound this time.
Yeah, different sample pack. So I'm using Get Good drums. Yeah.
Oh.
You know, I know you know.
Nolly Good.
Yeah, oh man, Nolly, he's the man. He's my hero. Yeah. Oh. So he's yeah, I love the drum sound. And actually, you know what? To a certain extent, I've taken some good sounding drums and ruined them a little bit.
Anytime anyone talks to me about studio recording and quality recording, I'm like, yeah, but the White Stripes have like amazing songs and they sound garagey and they're still good. It doesn't matter, does it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, a good song's a good song. You know, you have to work pretty hard to take that away from it. But no, I was pretty happy with it, with how the drums came out in that one. Yeah.
So your album, is there a theme that runs through it, or is it just a collection of new songs that?
It's like super angry, and it's because we're right in the middle of this hot mess of reality, basically. Sure. Lots of disappointment in the last few years for me, and so I think that's been outletted appropriately there.
Yeah, tell us about Swerve City, because before we started recording, we wanted to say from channel that we always felt like JP has his game for PR and stuff going. So when we saw Swerve Fest, we're like, whoa, this is epic. And then tell us about what happened.
Yeah, well, so Swerve Fest was going to be so much fun. We had some cool bands lined up, and we were really excited about how we were promoting it. We were doing sort of videos, and we had some really cool little sort of mini fest vibes planned for the night, and it was going to be a lot of fun. Announced it, tickets started selling. Really looking forward to it, and then that was about the time that the last lockdown started.
That was August lockdown, eh? That was when it kicked in. Yeah.
The big one. So inevitably got postponed. We had to push it out to March of this year because I've had a baby son, and so has Adam, our drummer. So we needed to kind of give a couple of 3 or 4 months leeway before trying to do anything band oriented there, because it's not a good time to create tension and things to do when you've got a little bubs around the house. And so and yes, so sure enough, we've timed it perfectly for the Omicron outbreak.
Is it Omicron or Omicron? Have you decided yet?
Me?
Is it Omicron or Omicron?
Was it my choice?
No, well, I don't know. I just hear everyone try to pronounce it different ways.
If it was my choice, I'd pull it.
Okay, what would you call it?
Oh, pull. No.
I just.
I've been calling it Omicron. What is it?
I don't know. Oreo cron?
Oreo macaron.
Oreo crumbs?
What's the problem? It sounds delicious.
Yeah. And you know what? When people watch this video, because, it's 13 years from now, they'll be like, oh, yeah, I remember my dad talking about the pandemic. Oh, yeah. It'll be Chinese whispers. Oh, man, that I'm in a Coca-Cola must have been crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So what about Swerve City? Tell us about that. So, yeah, where did that band kind of come from?
Well, it came from me not having armed in advance anymore and looking for something. And then Kev came over for a jam, Kev from Swerve City. But before then, before it was Swerve City, we came over for a jam, and then it's just I can't do this at the moment. I can't make music at the moment. So we didn't jam again for a year. And then sure enough, he met Adam in an Uber that he was driving. Adam jumped in. And Shannon, I've known Shannon for many a year, and we've been, sort of tossing ideas around. And it all came together in a jam room one night. And so we're 5 singles down, and we've got a 6-track EP in the works at the moment. So it's cool. It's going great. Really great guys, and super fun vibe. And yeah, super motivated, but it's been a hard time to keep the motivation going with all that's been going on. I think that's kind of I think people want a better story out of me for Swerve City at the moment, but that's kind of the story. It's kind of this was, we invested a lot of time into a really great live show, lots of stage movement, lots of energy, arranging it from start to finish, making sure that the songs all sounded as good as we could get them, and we played the show in Tauranga. We played it to, I think, 29 people or something. It was our first actual out of town date, but man, like, we were playing good. And the next show was Wellington with Curly's Jewels. It was the Curly's Jewels tour. We were doing Curly's Jewels, and then Curly's Jewels, and then sorry, Wellington had its first lockdown on the weekend of our first show there. But basically since then we haven't really been able to do our thing. In fact, we haven't even been able to practice that much, to be honest. So it's going to be great once the restrictions are gone. We're going to finally be able to show everyone, what we're made of, and we're looking forward to that. And we've got this cool record coming up as well, which is really cool and good fun to work on. So.
And what's the dynamic for you? Like, how is it different? Yeah, how does it work when you've got your own solo ideas and you've got your own solo project, but then you're also working in a band? Do you know what I mean? How does that?
Like, well, Kev brings heaps of the song ideas, like in terms of like the riffs, and I've brought a few of mine, and Shannon's brought some ideas, and we just work them out, and it doesn't matter who brings the idea though, because it after the band's through with it, it's a Swerve City song, and it's like that's things I love about it, because there's a lot of creative energy flying around.
Do they get heated sometimes, or is it all chill?
I think we all work pretty hard to to slip the ego off and leave it at the door, because there's some very talented creative people in the band, and I think it always has to be serving, the decisions have to be serving the music first and foremost. And I think I'm still working on shedding the ego in a creative environment. I find it really hard. So it's a great place to practice that.
Well, I mean, if you've got an idea, like, and you kind of instinctively know it's the right idea, then it's just trying to convince other people that that's the right idea for them to hear it. And sometimes it can. Well, do you know what I mean?
Or is it though? Or is it? I totally get that, because that's kind of like my go-to. But then when you hear someone else's idea with the band playing it, and it sounds just as good, then you've got two right ideas, and then it becomes about. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
So you got to stay open. Yeah.
No, that's right.
It's
a great video where Timberland is working with a couple of Dave. What's his name? Anyway, but they're doing like a masterclass, and then the engineer just stops immediately. He's like, "If somebody gives you an idea and you don't try it, leave the room."
Right.
Or you give them a good idea and they don't try it, leave the room. You got to try every idea. We work the same way, man. We'll give it a go, and if we don't feel it or I don't feel it, typically, do you find, like, I find if I don't feel it, we kind of have to try other things, but then we might just end up on their idea or this one. It's fun though. I find it fun.
So it's all fun. It's got to be fun. Yeah. I mean, I'm working on that shrinking the ego. I mean, I've got my own fucking solo project. I do everything. So you'd think that it would be enough of a just like outlet for that side of me, but I feel like sometimes I still get a little bit narrow-minded in the band room as well. But yeah, ultimately it should be about having fun as well. Yeah.
But that's okay. And so what would you say is the difference between the first album and the second album overall sound wise? Like, because the first song does feel different, does sound different to me from the original one. So even though, as you mentioned, it's like a 5-year-old song.
I want to hear this from you after I'm done answering it as well. I want to hear what you think, because I'm curious. Like, one of the things that I've noticed about releasing solo music is it's a surprise party for me, because I don't ever really know. I've got my story, of what it sounds like, but I don't really know until I hear from other people, what it sounds like, what the vibe they get. So it's always really cool. But for me, it's tighter, it's more angry. It's definitely a bit grungier, I think. Even though I tried to keep it nice and clean, I think the mess just made its way in there. And I don't know how happy I am about that, but in any case, I think it's just the way it came out. And I think it's like, I think one of the things that came out of the last record was there's lots of variety, and I think there's lots of variety in this one as well. Because it's kind of like, where do you send all of the different music ideas that you enjoy? You know, you can't kind of send 90% of the ways so that you can have a consistent sound on an album. Well, I can't, and so I think it sounds like an exploration of all my different influences, and also because I always want to make records that don't have 10 of the same sounding song on them. I wanted to make,
that's back in the day when there was an A&R guy. That's what would have happened. Hey, we like that song. Now make an album of the same thing, just with the different words and choruses, right? That can happen sometimes. There's lots of bands from the early 2000s that had that issue, right?
Yeah, right. It's not great for the art side of things, eh?
No.
Yeah. So there you go. But what did you think? What do you think after hearing that first song?
Dude, I thought it was like a different step, like in the right direction. Or it's not even I don't want to say right direction. It's just a different step. It's kind of a raise, but a new exciting level. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because it's it felt like the first album had had a sound that's like the songs all fit into that category where it sounded like that was one whole package, and then this one that wouldn't fit into that album.
Great.
So therefore, it's a different album, and so it sounds like I'm excited to hear what else is on there.
Awesome.
And as you mentioned before, like with us with Channeled, when we did the second one, though every song is different. There's just so many weird things. We just put everything on it, and that's just how.
I love that. I love that about your record, man. It was cool.
Thanks.
Was cool. Yeah.
So that's I'm excited to hear that scream that you have in the middle was badass, bro. That was a goodie. It's a goodie.
Spoiler. I think I did some quick maths, and I found that I think I did screams like that or more so on 8 of 11 of the tracks, or 10 of the tracks or something. So there's more screams, definitely.
Do you have a folder of your demos, and then you write the vocals, but then there'll be a whole lot of folders that haven't been finished that you never finish? Do you have that issue? Or do you finish everything you start?
These days I finish everything that I start.
That's amazing.
But I have a back catalogue of 150 to 200 songs that are in demo form. They're fully encapsulated to whatever extent I was able to produce them to at the time. That I'll never touch again, because they're there, they're done, and they're not going to serve what I want to do in the future. So, yeah.
But they served a purpose. There's lots of songs like that will probably you've done halfway through, or you're not going to touch again. But somehow some of that stuff that was written kind of works its way into your newer stuff. Yeah, that makes sense, eh?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. You'll hear this melody to a chorus that you're writing, and you'll think it sounds familiar, but it doesn't sound like a song that I've listened to recently. And then you realize it was a demo that you wrote 7 years ago, and you're like, okay, cool, yeah, let's do it.
True. Oh man, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. Do you reckon Erase will ever have a live outlet? Do you reckon you'd get some people to come and play some stuff to bring it live?
Always put that down to interest. So if I've always put like the feelers out after a release as well, like, do you want to see this live? And I think maybe it would be like 5 or 10 comments, and so if there's like 10 or 20 comments this time around, maybe I'll start to take it a bit more seriously. And if it's 5 to 10 again, maybe I won't. I think I just don't want to put a lot of effort into arranging that kind of live scenario if I don't think if there's going to be people there to enjoy it.
Hold on a second. Can I say, when you recorded those songs, they felt good recording and singing, right?
Yeah.
So, and this is the problem I had, was just like, once I'm done with it. But what would it feel like to sing something like Home or Light Years or something like that, or with a band on stage? And I think if that was translated, regardless of what the audience thinks, if you did that, then all of a sudden people will be like, oh, this is cool. And then you'll feel it in a different way than you did when you recorded it.
Oh, yeah, that's a valid point. Yeah, that experiential aspect, right?
Yeah, because that's kind of what switched channel to become a band. And we just, I found some friends that could do it without us, like you said, we've got kids, and we're busy. So we don't practice and rehearse all the time. So we got to make sure that we come prepared.
Yeah.
But then when we play those songs on stage, like I sung Deeper in This Room, and to get to sing that again whenever we play is like cool, other than it just being stuck in a, on a recording and thinking about how awesome it was. I reckon, I'm just saying from my perspective, I reckon Erase would sound awesome. But if you had a good, a group of musicians that learnt your songs and played it, I would be there to watch it, to see it played live.
For
sure.
I mean, I would love that one day. I think it would be awesome. It'd be special. But let me maybe repackage this as like I've got like a problem with me and how I represent myself live, and that I can't be relaxed about it, and so and enjoy and be as experiential as you are. I have to put a lot of practice into it just to be okay with myself before going on stage, if that makes sense. So it's not like the worldview of me. It's more just my own personal sense of self and just being okay with to what extent it is rehearsed and things like that.
But you're talking to a whole, and the cool thing about you saying that is you're talking to a whole lot of people who feel exactly the same way as you.
Right.
So think of all the kids in schools that you'll work with and I work with and other people work with, or just people at home that sing and they like singing but are scared of doing it in front of other people or overthinking it when they're actually doing it. That prevents them from doing it. Is that kind of what you're touching on?
That it is a little, although my solution to that problem, which may be flawed, is to extensively practice. And so in order to bring Erase into a live fold, I would need to commit to an extensive period of practice.
Fair enough.
That's to go with my extensive practice for Swerve City when Swerve City is operating as well, which is not insignificant. And that's with family life and work life. And so what I'd need is just to know that if I was doing it was to go onto stage and connect with people who are there to experience it, and not to find myself singing for my own pleasure, which is a valid position, and I hear you, and I think it's fucking cool. And maybe I can do some work on my own inner world that I can bring myself to be cool with that as well.
You should do the GoFundMe, like if I sell X amount of tickets and you have no choice. If you can sell out Ding Dong Lounge or Eden Park, watch out 660. Then do you know what I mean?
Yeah, man, I hear you. Yeah, maybe I will. Yeah, maybe I will.
All right, I'm waiting for it. Cool, man. I think that's anything else you want to talk about before we wrap this up. I think it's been a lot of fun. We've learned a lot.
Oh, sorry, I'm just losing you there a little bit. So could you just say that again?
I said, I think that's it. Unless you want to chat about anything else, we've had a good time and a good laugh.
Yeah,
we've learned a lot.
Great. Yeah.
What's wrong with what's wrong with our internet? Yo, internet, sort it out, G. Hurry up.
It's because the router's like over there, you know. It's like
back in our day, we used to use cables. What's this router stuff?
You know, it's like the McDonald's ice cream machine. It's just always broken.
I've heard this. Is this true, or is it a myth?
It's a meme. I don't know. I live my life one meme at a time.
Yo. And what's the release date for your song?
So this song's out 25th of March.
Yo.
So it's in like 10 days or something, and then a couple more singles after that, and then we were looking at getting the record out. So good.
Cool, man. And just so that my students don't hound me, I'm sorry. Yo, make sure that you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Bam, dab on the haters that don't. My cringe score at school is always way higher than 10, so I have to bring it down, but not going to happen. Until next time, everybody. Thanks so much for being on, man.
Those are rookie numbers. You got to pump them up.
Yo. Take care, everyone. All good. Bye-bye.